Hello and welcome to Mindful Living, where we explore the art of living with the intention, balance, and inner peace. I am Avik, your host, guiding you through conversations on health, meditation, mental well being, mindfulness, and the mind body connection. Each episode features expert insights to help you grow, heal, and thrive. So, take a deep breath, relax, and join us on this journey to a more mindful and fulfilling life. So, let's get started.
Hello and welcome, listeners, to another exciting episode of the Mindful Living podcast, where we explore the practices, philosophies, and paths that lead to a more mindful, balanced, and fulfilled life. I'm your host, Sana, and today we have a very special guest with us who embodies the intersection of mindfulness, entrepreneurship, and personal growth. Meet Aaron Hendon, a certified mindfulness instructor, top selling realtor, best selling author, and a transformative educator who has spent over 30 years helping people get unstuck and achieve sustainable success. Aaron has helped over 10,000 people navigate both life and business challenges. And today on the Mindful Living podcast, we'll dive deep into the concept of living a grateful life and how mindfulness can help us cultivate gratitude amidst the chaos of life. So, Aaron, welcome to the show, and it's an absolute honor having you with us today.
Sana, thank you. The privilege is mine. I really appreciate the opportunity. Thank you so much.
Great. So, Aaron, would you like to share a bit about your personal journey?
Sure. I started meditating as a young man, probably in my 20s. I don't really actually remember how I got started, but it got started through transcendental meditation. My took a class and practiced on and off for a few years. I was pretty reliable for a year or two, and then on and off for a while. And then more recently, I had a something of a opening, a satori, and like kind of moment where I got clear for myself that I the game in life shifted from trying to accumulate enough stuff
Mm-hmm.
that and enough success that I wouldn't have anything to worry about.
Mm-hmm.
I saw that I was playing a game that really you couldn't win. You can't get to a point where there's nothing to worry about.
Mm-hmm.
That it became a game of being able to focus on what I was grateful for versus what I was worried about. Like I could control my mind and focus my mind on what was working, what I had, what I was grateful for. And not only does that diminish the impact of what I was worried about, but it actually brings me more of what I want. You get what you focus on. So,
Yep.
uh, and I took it at that point, I took a deeper dive into mindfulness and started practicing and got certified as an instructor and um, really am in the process of developing writing a book and giving people access to living a grateful life in the midst of the chaos that we all face every day. How does one stay in the presence of what they're grateful for, as
Mm-hmm.
opposed to chasing rabbits and being worried and anxious and stressed? So it's a little bit about where I'm at.
Great. That's really great, Aaron. And you have had such a varied and successful career from owning a bakery to becoming a top-selling realtor. So how did mindfulness help you in approaching the way you see life and business both?
Well, that tension between mindful and so I have a podcast called The Mindful CEO, and that tension between mindfulness and business is really the part that interests me. Because look, you can have a ton of success but not be happy, and you could just focus on being happy and pretend you're going to be happy without success.
Mhm.
But the real game is to be able to find a successful path while maintaining our focus and our attention on what's going to work,
Mhm.
what's going to produce the kind of results we want while being in the presence of what matters to us. So I think it's really is a, I have found that it's in, for me, it's been very important for me to find a place where I could have both things
Mhm.
in the foreground, hold both things, the tension between those things. And there is a tension between those things.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. That's really great. Um, so, in your experience, what is that connection between mindfulness and living a grateful life, especially for entrepreneurs who are
Mm,
juggling multiple challenges?
yeah. Um, well, I don't know how you do it without meditation, frankly. I don't know how you get there without slowing down
Mm-hmm.
and becoming aware of what's happening, what's physically happening, because um, there's you could write gratitude journals or do affirmations or do any number of things that I think are shortcutting
Mm-hmm.
the uh, process. And I don't think it makes any difference to do that. I think it makes a negative difference to do that. I think you're faking it. You're faking it till you make it, which is fine. Faking it till you making it is fine for skill based or courage based phenomenon, but
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't work in terms of dealing with the emotional impact of anything. And so I found that it's basically 5 steps. If you're willing to take 10 minutes a day, and I don't think you have to sit for an hour a day. I mean, you could, but I don't think you have to. But just take 10 minutes a day and whatever, and sort of acknowledge whatever stressors you have. You become aware. First step is just becoming aware, just sitting. And that's fundamental to meditation, is just bringing awareness to the breath, to the body, to the sensations of what it is that you're stressed about or what's not working, like that.
Mm-hmm.
And um, so there's awareness, and then there's allowing it to be.
Mm-hmm.
Just allow that experience to be just how it is,
Mm-hmm.
and you then you can move to accepting it as it is. So you've allowed it to be, and now you can accept it. And acceptance is a whole nother conversation. Acceptance is one of the most confusing or misunderstood ideas in any kind of mindfulness practice. People hear accepting as surrendering or advocating or aligning with, and it's really not. It's just, if it's raining, you would accept that it's raining, and it may not be your favorite, but you don't resist it. It's really the absence of resistance. So there's awareness, allowance, acceptance, and then when you really do accept something, you can begin to look around that thing and see if there's anything you appreciate about that,
Mm-hmm.
any lessons you learned, anything that is, on the edges of it that could be a gift, you just appreciate what's there. And it's a very small step from appreciation to gratitude. You Once you're in appreciation, it's relatively simple and easy to slide into the experience of being grateful for something. And I just don't think you can jump right to gratitude. I think, in the midst of the chaos, see, look, you can go to gratitude. It's no problem going to gratitude when you're standing there at the birth of your daughter. You're holding your newborn, and gratitude's right there. You didn't go through the spaces intentionally. You didn't go aware, accept, allow. Gratitude definitely descends upon us from time to time, and it's lovely when it does. And this isn't about that.
Mm-hmm.
This is about, in the midst of how messed up and chaotic and stressful everything is, can you generate gratitude? Can you be in the presence of gratitude, even in the face of what looks like there's nothing to be grateful for? I don't know, whatever stressors you have at your work. And
Mm-hmm.
you can, if you're willing to take the time and really explore. And I have found that those steps really do open up an experience of gratitude.
Great. That's great.
Yeah.
So, Aaron, this is something very, very remarkable. You have helped over 10,000 people get unstuck in their personal and professional lives. So, how do you encourage others to practice gratitude when they are facing tough times or times of uncertainty?
Yeah. I think being kind to yourself, practicing self-compassion. Like I said, I think meditation is a just a critical practice, self-care practice to, um, the Buddhists and Navy SEALs and many people, different modalities agree that, we don't rise to the occasion. We sink to the level of our preparation. We sink to the
Mhm.
level of our systems. And so to think that you're going to be grateful in the midst of stress, having done no work, no preparation for your mind is a mistake. You're not going to. It's just not going to go that way. That's not the way anything works. That'd be like, I'm going to go run a marathon, but I haven't done any physical training. Not going to happen. And people don't have a problem spending an hour or two a day at the gym or an hour, 3 hours a week because, I'm going to go do workouts. I'm going to go do this, that, or the other thing. I'm going to work my body out. And they expect the benefits of doing cardio or resistance training. And that's all great. They expect those benefits because they've done that work. Except, do you do that work in meditation? Do you do that work to train your brain? And so I think the key is, developing a practice of training your brain to be calm, be present, be available, and then in the midst of something happening that's unwanted, stressful or undesired, can you slow down and become aware of what that feels like in the body and allow it to be there in the body and accept the situation for what it is and then look to see what you appreciate about it and go through the steps because you've prepared. You've done the work to prepare. Your brain is available to respond versus react because you've done the work to prepare.
Hmm. Profound. And can you share a personal story where mindfulness and gratitude helped you or any of your client overcome a particularly challenging situation, either in entrepreneurial journey or in life?
Uh, yeah, well, I think let's see. I think um, where it's shown up most recently is in my relationship with my wife. I've been married for 26 years and
Wow.
we're currently empty nesters for the first time. We've just moved our son up to college. And so both our kids are now gone from the house. And, that's a stressful, emotional, complex time. We're going from 20, daughter's 21. So it's been 21 years since it's just been her and I. And really, frankly, we dated for 3 years before we married, and then we were married for 5 years. So we had 8 years on our own, and then 21 years with one or two of them.
Hmm.
So a lot of time with more than just us, more than just the 8 years that we had. And and now we're back to just her and I. And it's on one hand, that's a unique emotional proposition. And our ability, both our shared ability and our shared commitment to
Hmm.
use the experience of gratitude as a baseline experience. In other words, I can notice when I'm not in gratitude.
Mhm.
If I'm, like meditation, you notice where your mind wanders, and that's the point of meditation is to notice your mind wandering. I've been practicing noticing when I'm not in gratitude and then bringing myself back to that baseline, to that, truing myself up to that experience. And so is she. And we have found over the last, and this is new, this is like, we moved them up last week.
Mhm.
um, our ability to slow down and deal with the emotions that come up and the tension and the inherent problematic nature of all that. Um, and then just sit in gratitude for what there is to be grateful for. It just takes a moment or two to slow down enough. And it's been really an amazing 2 weeks with her. Now it's a very short window to get into, but at the same time, the stuff that I would expect to be there, the fight, the tension, the upset, like that,
Mhm.
um, has been really, really fabulous. It's really made an enormous difference.
Lovely. That's really very lovely. Thank you so much, Aaron, for sharing this story with all of us. Great. And coming to you know entrepreneurship or our professional lives, you have thrived in a very competitive real estate market And I'm 100% confident it can be so stressful and unpredictable. How do you maintain balance and mindfulness in such a high pressure environment? And how do you advise others can also cultivate this practice in their fast paced careers to do the same?
Um, yeah, I'm just going to sound like a broken record, Sana. I'm sorry. It's just you practice. Salespeople. I'm a salesperson at heart. Salespeople practice scripts.
Uh-huh.
We practice our scripting. We practice. Everyone, if you want anything, you practice. Nothing just comes for free. No one is just gifted. That's not a real thing. I mean, there are people that have gifts, but they practice their gifts. They're not just gifted and don't practice. So if anyone wants anything about being stress free or grateful or empowered in the midst of chaos, and the real estate market is definitely that, all that, you got to practice and train your brain and develop the mental capacity to be calm and present and centered in the midst of chaos, which is frankly, meditation, 10 minutes a day. And it's been shown to grow your prefrontal cortex and thin your amygdala. So you're growing the part of your brain that's responsive
Mhm.
and thinning the part of your brain that's reactive. And you've practiced and you've practiced and you practice and you just do a little bit a day, 1% better. You're not looking for major things, and you're intentionally practicing. And in addition to those 10 minutes, you're practicing applying it when things get crazy. So things get crazy, you don't just think, oh well, fuck, I practiced today. Why am I upset? No, you stop and you look to see, okay, what does it feel like in this moment to be upset, and what's actually present for me, and you become aware. Like you slow it down.
True. And lastly, before we wrap up, Aaron, for listeners who are feeling stuck, whether in business, relationships, or personal growth in any aspects of their life, what advice would you give to them on using mindfulness and gratitude as tools for transformation?
I would suggest that you. This is such a broken record, Sana. I'm just going to say that you give yourself the gift of practicing that. You could look at meditation as self care. You're
Yeah.
going to take the time for yourself, and I do think self compassion is probably the number one thing that stops people from really having freedom, power. Is we're all have PhDs on being hard on ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
and the opportunity to be soft and gentle and spacious and forgiving and compassionate with ourselves is where everything starts. So, are you willing to do that?
Mm-hmm. Great. Great. So, Aaron, what's next for you? Are there any books or events, if if you would like to share with our listeners, they can have access to and also connect with you?
Well, I'm writing a book. I'm writing Living a Grateful Life in a Messed Up World
Mhm.
is the book I'm writing, and people can find me on, and I have talks and meditations posted on the Insight Timer, and they can find me at aaronhendon.com if they want to reach out and talk or schedule anything. So,
Mhm. Great. That's really great. And I also wanted to add, so you also say that time management, it's a joke and the
yeah.
joke is on you. So what's your opinion on that? Why
Well,
is
I
that?
think, yeah, well, so you can't manage time.
Mm.
You don't manage the weather.
Yeah.
If it's raining and you put on a coat, you don't say, well, I'm managing the weather. No, you're managing yourself in the weather. Time
Mhm.
is going to do what time does. Time is marching on. There is no managing time. You are not going to manage time. Time management is a joke. And the why it's a joke and why people keep telling that joke is because as long as they're trying to manage time, they don't have to be responsible for the only thing that matters, which is what you do in time. People
Mhm.
aren't people don't aren't overbooked. So I don't know in India if this is a story that translates, but there's a kid's book, fairy tale, one of the kids' story that we tell our kids here, and about the shoemaker and the elves, where a shoemaker goes to bed. He has more shoes than the king gives him a big order of shoes that he needs to cobble, put together. And he goes to bed. He's frantic. He falls asleep. He doesn't know how he's going to do. And he wakes up in the morning and all the shoes are done. And he looks to see how all these shoes get done. And it turns out all these magic elves came in and fixed the shoes. It was magic elves, Sana. That's who fixed the shoes. And people look at their schedule. They get up in the morning and they look at their schedule as if magic elves put things in their schedule. As if every single thing in your schedule isn't something you put there. Every single thing in your schedule is something you put there. There's nothing in your schedule you didn't put there. Nothing, not one thing. Except people don't relate to that. I'm bad at time management. No, you're bad at word management. You don't have a time management problem. You have a word management problem. You put yourself in two things at the same time. Stop doing that. You literally just don't do that. But as long as it's time management and I have to manage time, then I don't have to manage the one thing that matters, which is me.
True.
So time management is a joke because you are out to try and fool me into thinking you have a time management issue. It's like a weather management issue. No. There's no such thing as weather management. People are responsible for the weather.
Yes. Lovely. That's really encouraging. And your calling in life is to help people have the experience of their own agency. And
Yes.
that's why you have been dedicated to this mission for nearly 3 decades, as we discussed in the introduction, coaching over 10,000 individuals. So can you also share what this sense of agency means to you and how you help people tap into their personal power to achieve their highest levels of performance?
Yeah. Well, agency is the experience of being able to direct yourself in life, being able to have a say about the quality and the actions that you take in life. And everything that I do goes through that filter. Is this going to give someone a deeper experience of their own ability to have their life go the way they want it to go? And I think without people distinguishing their calling, what they're here for, what they're up to in life, there's no filter for them. So they, just go through life doing whatever they do and doing whatever they do and doing whatever they do versus is this going to fulfill what I'm up to in the world? Simon Sinek talks about it like a big why. It's, being able to determine that is a big, big deal. We have a workshop where we call Finding Your True East, and where people can determine that for themselves, create that for themselves.
Interesting. That's interesting. Well, Aaron, thank you so much for sharing your journey, your wisdom with all of us today. And it's absolutely crystal clear that mindfulness and gratitude have played a pivotal role in your success and in helping others achieve their own as well. So thank you so much for gracing us with your presence.
Sana, thank you so much for the opportunity. I appreciate it so, so much. Thank you.
And for our listeners who want to learn more about Aaron's work, you can check the show notes along with this episode on your favorite podcast platform. Don't forget to reflect on today's conversation and consider how mindfulness and gratitude can enhance your own life, no matter what challenges you may be facing. So, until next time, stay mindful, live authentically, and always remember to practice gratitude. And thanks for tuning into this episode of the Mindful Living Podcast. This is your host, Sana, signing off.